quote, "And a few cubicles away, a mild, ineffectual, dreamy creature called Ampleforth, with very hairy ears and a surprising talent for juggling with rhyme and meters, was engaged in producing garbled versions, definitive texts they were called, of poems which had become ideologically offensive, but which, for one reason or another, were to be retained in the anthologies." George Orwell, 1984. I thought I'd start with one that I'm sure everyone can sort of agree with. Let's see. What is that called? Yes. Daylight Savings Time. 1950, 9 minutes, color. Symbolic, impressionistic history of the discovery and measurement of time, from sun worshippers to underground wristwatches. If Japan adapted daylight savings time, their economy could make an additional billion. Everybody would suddenly feel better. Time would not have been lost, nor would they have to run to catch up to the West if Japan adapted daylight savings time. The hour it takes to walk home from work would slow us down to enjoy the full sunset. Everybody would suddenly feel better. Altering clocks to keep science correct could teach patience through origami if Japan adapted daylight savings time. Who needs an extra hour on the internet? And isn't there an hour we'd like to forget? Everybody would suddenly feel better. Human time moves at the pace of moonlight falling into its own image on a lake. If Japan adapted daylight savings time, everybody would suddenly feel better. These poems came about as a result of audiovisual aids in a downtown public library where I worked. And I just felt that the descriptions of the films had nothing to do with the films when I actually saw them. These were usually 16 millimeter films that teachers would rent to bring into high school classrooms to keep their students occupied on days when they didn't want to do any work, probably. Coffee break, 1958, 14 minutes. Research shows that the 7 out of 10 employees who take coffee breaks cost American industry $1 billion annually. Presents the workers and the company's points of view and asks what can be done about abuses of this American institution. When I hold the question mark upside down, I discover a hook to go fishing with. Fishing requires patience and the goodwill to throw smarter catches back in the water. Sometimes, upside down turns the hook into a cradle full of spring flowers. A leafy trellis hangs out like a rat's tail, or clumps of spinach ready for soup. It's amazing what happens every time a question is turned upside down. But never turn one inside out, or you might spill the Milky Way. Now that was an original descriptor for the film, followed by my reaction. I'm going to do another one in the same sense, because this will give you an idea of what working at the Downtown Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County in the Films and Recordings Department was like. Big day in Bogo. 1967, 15 minutes, good conquers evil in an African village in the Cameroons that rids itself of the medicine man's charms and the dreaded malarial mosquito with the help of DDT supplied by UNICEF. A patron at the desk hums the melody he wants. Some nuns bicker over who will get the slides of birds and trees. A man in a sleazy raincoat leaves you his hotel room number and 2 shopping bags full of clothes. The man who likes to have an argument comes in and passes out Xerox copies of his college degree. Local schizophrenics start singing at the turntables. A follow-up on the supplement to the 7th Interdepartmental Questionnaire has just been set down for everyone to fill out. Quote, no one is allowed to leave the building before 9 o'clock, but no one is allowed to be in the building after 9 either, end quote. The carousel slide projector you're demonstrating jams on a native breastfeeding her child, and the citizens for decency storm out of the room. Upstairs, the projectionist has lost the loop, and King Kong is eaten up by white space before you can lay a finger on Fay Ray. Former employees you thought were dead show up to listen to poetry records. A patron at the desk starts screaming in your face, and you are going to have to stay as beautiful as Saint Teresa. (1967), a documentary on the public library's outreach to the Ohio River community, especially during the flood season. When public libraries sailed out to sea, books shivered their spines at watery graves. Animals were a faint memory in bestiaries bound by briny staves. And none aboard went 2 by 2, but roared a plenitude of conflicting tall tales. For the cornucopian ear of God, who snored atop braille willows, face-wind gales. From salt to salt the crew evolved a pearl that pooled its evanescent skein of stars, and leapt an oyster's tongue an onyx whirl, to dream from words the sounds that heal all scars. But who knew where this raft of books would go, or which adults might find their inner child within some scientific tract on snow, or some opulent Xanadu gone wild. Quarks and Nostrums, 1958, 19 minutes, illustrates the area of taking quack medicines through the case of a woman who, after using an herb cure-all for her attacks, is hospitalized because of a failure to get proper medical treatment. Work of the Food and Drug Administration and other agencies to protect the public. When you hold on to something too long, it turns to gold, then crumbles like bone without marrow. When you bear a grudge, it turns into a hump on your back. Any words that you forbid gain power in the silence, then suddenly explode. Just because you are a member of the family of man doesn't mean you are human. Weeds thrive better in the junkyard of what people no longer need. Still, be sly enough to stay who you are, despite everybody else's advice. Even today, the leaves are greening, all on their own. I have to do this one because I'm sure many of you will sympathize. The Grammar God. 1957, 15 minutes color. An animated film for elementary children presenting basic rules for formal grammar. It belched. Semicolons lost their tails. And genealogies babbled on and on without stopping to sip sweet tea beneath an Arkansas summer sun. It hiccuped. Apostrophes fell off their hooks and swung skyward, dark wedges, honking in formation, elderly, fleeing the chill of naked trees. It sneezed, thick-headed and metallic, its teeth grinding chalk across blackboards. It spewed exclamation points as high fever and flu exasperated its reason. Who made the Grammar God? Businessmen and conformists cemented walls of rules around the missing question marks. And I think I'll just read one more. There must be a cure for altruism. I would like to find it. This is what I like to try to live up to. I always fail, but I make the effort. Youth and the Law, 1962, 36 minutes. Pinpoints problems of youth in contemporary community life. Dramatizes the role of police as they work with community agencies to guide youthful energy into constructive channels, and points out the unique aspect of juvenile law and teamwork with mental health resources. The role of preventative patrol is explained. And don't forget those who everyone says don't deserve any help. They, most of all, have given up and can hardly crawl out of their hole. As the body fails, light blurs around the edges, catches fire, and burns. Hard to see each day, harder each night, where distance flattens into slate. Remember how they were before the accident. They knew how to dance.
Encore. Encore.
Do you have any questions?
Page 2.
There we go. Page 2, yes?
What's the story behind this one?
What do you want?
Well, I mean, I guess behind your point of view of the video. I don't know. Can you just read it for me, please? It's my favorite one so far.
This is a good example of one which they left out something that separates the first, let's see, one, two, three, 4 stanzas from the last 3, because they're really 2 separate poems, part 1 and part 2. Okay. O Azar Balthazar, 1966. Following his own aesthetic to, quote, make visible what without you might never have been seen, Robert Bresson focuses on faith through the story of Marie and her beloved donkey, Balthazar. Scents and colors seem the same year after year after the rain, but nothing's ever really the same. The new is renewed just in refrain. The new is what it's all about. Apples and pears appear, tears across an Arabesque romance where ardor shears apart in wars. No longer among us the lost inhabit and dream the mind, gross writing whatever the cost. Rebirth doesn't redeem its kind. Blind to change, we seem the same as those who came before the rain. Blindness helps us remain the same. The new is renewed just in refrain. There is always promise in truly new images perched on stems that stretch out thought, perfuming without knowing that they do, subtle variations on the standard plot. The new rejoice in being so alive that darkness pearls into white feathery whips, wild dervishes whom bells revive in crowds, each a unique identity. Peeling back lips, botanists botch the task of catching what evaporates in air, listening for whispers behind the mask. Is ever anything was really there? Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, 1948. Nunnally Johnson adapted this fish-out-of-water tale about a man, William Powell, who catches a mermaid, Anne Blythe, with whom he falls in love. Irving Pichel directs this fable about male midlife crisis, with Irene Hervey as the jealous wife, Andrea King as a scheming seductress, and Clinton Sandberg as a hypochondriac forbidden tobacco and alcohol. Coral reefs whiten from acidification as waters warm to devastate algae. A Syrinx aurora of luminous vision serenades sailors on the dying sea. These were the origins of all men, who crawled from land to grim reality. On the flash of a beautiful fin, a silent mermaid fans fantasy. At sunset beneath palmetto trees, the Caribbean carols 50. Supernatural kisses bring to its knees melancholic mortality. One seashell cone remains above. There is no drowning except in love.